For our final story in sports this week, the national wrestling community has been in mourning following the passing of the legendary Wartburg Wrestling three-time national champion Kenny Anderson. I had the opportunity to speak with those in the Wartburg community who knew him best.
When I was extremely young, when I was 7, everybody would pretend to be in the NHL finals, NBA finals. Me and my brother would throw down blankets on the wooden floor and pretend we're in NCAA finals. So it's for just any kid to accomplish his dream. It's amazing. I don't know.
But for Kenny Anderson, it became more than just a dream. 3 NCAA Division III national titles, 3 Massachusetts state titles, countless lives touched, and 1 staggering legacy. This is just a small part of what Anderson leaves behind following the announcement of his death on Sunday, October 20th. Anderson was 29 years old. Jim Miller, the former head coach of the Knights during Anderson's tenure at Wartburg, talks about his reaction to hearing of the former athlete's passing.
Felt like I got hit up the head by a sledgehammer when I heard that news, you know. And Stephen Clemenakis was the one that called me. Stephen was the first one of a number of Louisiana kids that came to Wartburg, and Kenny was living with Stephen's brother, and so he called, and yeah, man, it's still hard to grasp. It's still hard to put your head around it, you know.
Anderson's legacy was matched only by his story. He grew up in the community of Billerica, Massachusetts. Before coming to Wartburg, he hit his self-described rock bottom washing buses in his hometown. Looking back, Wartburg head wrestling coach Eric Keller believes those were the moments that shaped him.
He lived for moments like that, you know, and I think a lot of that was those are the moments that he'd always dreamed of, you know. I mean, I think for him, as a kid growing up, probably those days washing buses, those are the moments that got him through, you know. Those are the moments that he was envisioning. Those are the times that he visioned being on that stage, wrestling for a championship, that moment, you know. And so when it happened, when it was there, he embraced it.
Jim Miller and Eric Keller's final time coaching together happened to coincide with Anderson's second national championship match. After coming out on top, Miller recalled an encounter he had with his final national champion.
Kenny Anderson said, Coach, I know you remember your first national champion. I hope you won't forget your last. And I most definitely will not forget Kenny Anderson, and neither will so many others. We love Kenny Anderson.
Online safety is talked about more today than it ever has been. According to the Pew Research Center, 68% of Americans use at least one form of social media. Despite the high usage, online security, especially data and information, is at its highest levels of risk, according to Waverly City Administrator James Bronner.
I think social media is an issue more than people realize at times because, again, there is so much access. And as you see, Facebook was not impenetrable. People got into that. They've been able to hack the cloud before. So I think for people to assume that whatever they put out there is safe is somewhat foolish because someday someone will get into it.
According to Symantec, U.S. residents are the #1 victim of targeted cyber attacks. Gary Whipperman, Assistant Vice President of Wartburg College's IT department, finds that not only are these attacks becoming more frequent, but also more challenging to combat. How difficult do you think it is today, as opposed to, say, 10 years ago, for people to keep their data safe online?
I think it's a lot more difficult today than it was then. I mean, I think on the one hand, I think people are more aware of attempts to try to get access to their data, but there are so many more places and ways now to have your data stolen.
One of the best ways to keep yourself safe in the digital world is to stagger your passwords. Many people often use the same password for all of their accounts. However, creating separate, strong passwords for every account is a more effective way to guard your data. Reporting for Cedar Valley Today, I'm Ryan Reebenacker. Much of Wartburg's team's success over the past several years have come down to culture and coaching, but it has also seen its recruitment of local talent pay off, especially in the reigning American Rivers Conference MVP, Gerdes. Gerdes, who made state runs throughout her high school career at Cedar Falls, now has found herself making runs at the NCAA tournament year after year.
State is such a big deal in high school, and it's so fun. And just thinking about being like the best team in the state, it just seems like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. Like that type of thing, in which it was so cool in high school, and now in college, we're one of the best teams in the nation.
Gerdes earned the MVP accolade after averaging just over 10 points a game, leading the team in rebounds with 5.5, and leading in both assists and steals. Despite the award being an individual accomplishment, Gerdes says the award belongs to everyone on Wartburg's roster.
I mean, I wouldn't be the player I am without all of them. I mean, they deserve it just as much as anyone in the conference. And we have it, last year we had a saying, we need each other, and which is so true. Each one of us needs each one of us, and we all make each other better.
Gerdes is not the lone knight on Wartburg's roster to emerge from Cedar Falls, as Allie Conrad starts alongside her in the backcourt. In fact, the first time in recent history Cedar Falls made the state tournament was due in part by the duo of Gerdes and Conrad.
It's kind of bittersweet. It's sad. I mean, to think about this is our last time ever playing basketball together kind of makes me teary-eyed a little bit, but that just makes me realize that I shouldn't take it for granted. Like, we want to go as long as we can this season because I want to keep playing with her. So it's bittersweet, but I'm excited.
Playing the game she loves in the community she grew up in is a feeling the MVP calls really special. For Night Vision Sports, I'm Ryan Reebenacker. Waverly's historic Green Bridge has stood strong for over a century. However, since its closure in 2015, its future connecting downtown and South Waverly has been in jeopardy. This month, City Council made public its plan to remove and replace the Green Bridge instead of repairing it. City Administrator James Bronner explains that the decision is in the best interest of local taxpayers.
It could be repaired in place, but the cost was almost as much and actually more than replacing it with a new bridge. Right. And it's hard to justify that with the tax dollars that's going to be required.
In addition to the economic factors, the Green Bridge also holds some historic value. Currently, it has a place on the National Registry of Historic Places. However, in order to secure more federal funding, the city is underway with plans to delist the Green Bridge from the registry. To the Waverly Historic Preservation Commission, the history of the Green Bridge deserves to be recognized.
We went officially on record saying we oppose the delisting. I mean, that's our job as a Historic Preservation Commission. But again, we knew the history of how we came to this point, and it's been lots of open, good discussion about that.
Behind me lies the historic landmark that is the Green Bridge in Waverly, Iowa, a bridge that City Administrator James Bronner says might be going down one way or the other.
It can stay put, but it's just going to continue to deteriorate. And if you get a high water level like we've had in the past, and you get to 2008 flood, it may take it away. Look at the bridge south of Waverly between here and Janesville. It got taken away. The county bridge, they found it 3 miles downstream. Now they have to go cut it up and get it out of there. That could happen to this bridge too. It's been hit and hit a number of times. Large trees hit, wedged up against it. We have photos of them twisted up underneath in the steel. At someday, some point, it will come down.
Meyer proposes a different solution to preserve the historic value of the bridge.
Yeah, I mean, in your gut, you're saying, oh gosh, you hate to see that go. But what we've also talked about with the city is to, when they do tear it down, to save one span of it. And there's a nearby park, and so we would think it would be neat to put one of those spans on the trail as a trailhead and preserve it that way.
The Waverly City Council will continue to explore funding and grant options with the goal of successfully implementing a 2-lane bridge in the next few years. For Cedar Valley Today, I'm Ryan Reebenacker.